Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Representative Eric Mortensen out of Shakopee, District 55A, and this is my Week 1 legislative update from here at the Capitol. And it's been a much more exciting week than I anticipated, to be perfectly honest with you, because it all started off on Monday. Monday was the very first floor session, and I get down to the Capitol, to the House floor, and I'm trying to wiggle my way past these crowds, but there are news cameras. Everywhere had news cameras. And I should have known, if there's news cameras, Governor Photo Op is probably nearby. So he was actually in there. He's handing out his little lemon bars, and he obviously invited the media so they could make hay of it and show what kind of guy he is. And of course, the legislators down here played the games and participated. But I went to the floor, maskless, I should say, to the floor. I'm still the only Republican on the floor that is not wearing a mask. And I look, and there's the governor. And he comes walking up to me and offers me a lemon bar. And I looked at him and I said, "I would trust nothing coming from you." And he, as you can imagine, he did not like that response. He said, "Wait a minute, we're on the same team here." And I said, "Is that what you tell the bar and restaurant owners that you drove out of business for the last 2 years?" So the governor tells me how good of a politician he is, that he came to Minnesota and not knowing anybody and became governor. And I said, "That is disgusting. You're on the House floor bragging, literally bragging about how good of a politician you are." And that's when I realized I need to get this on camera. So I pulled out my phone and I recorded him. And I asked him about Lisa Hansen, who was supposed to get out of the jail here, I believe Friday night, maybe Saturday morning. Lisa Hansen is a business owner, a grandmother down in Albert Lea who refused to shut down her business during Walz's unconstitutional lockdowns in December of 2020. And her punishment for serving her willing customers cups of coffee was 90 days in jail and a $1,000 fine. And of course, as soon as I asked him about his administration jailing this grandmother who missed Christmas, she missed the birth of her latest grandchild, he tucked tail and he ran away like the coward he is. So here we are at the Capitol, Democrat-controlled House, right? And they signal to you and me and the whole state as to what their priorities are based on what bills are actually moving through committee. Now, as we all know, we have crime surging across our state. Record number of homicides in Minneapolis and St. Paul. We have inflation skyrocketing across the entire country. Vaccine mandates and vaccine passports are being implemented across the state. We are literally firing nurses and healthcare workers across our healthcare systems because they refuse to get a vaccine that doesn't even stop the spread of the virus. It is insane. And so now we have a shortage of hospital beds, not because there's a lack of actual beds, because there's a lack of staff, because we fired 20 to 30% of our healthcare workers. But what are the Democrats' number one priority that I'm hearing today? It is something called the Crown Act. Yeah, the Crown Act. Everybody knows about the Crown Act, right? They referenced it a half a dozen times in my committee meeting today. They said, we have to pass the Crown Act. And I had to Google it myself. The Crown Act is legislation that it says it's an acronym, of course, creating a respectful and open world for natural hair. That is the Democrats' top priority. Passing the Crown Act. And I'll say it again, it is intended to create a respectful and open world for natural hair. And I have a hard time even saying that without laughing because we're staring at massive problems that need to be addressed. And they're talking about hair discrimination, which maybe is a thing. Maybe it is, and discrimination on anybody's appearances is awful. Absolutely, 100%. And like I said in committee today, that's a terrible thing. But we have much, much bigger problems than worrying about the appearances of people's hair. And what made it worse, actually, is if they want to stop hair discrimination, great. Introduce legislation that stops hair discrimination. But what they were doing is they were trying to change the definition of race. And they used the appearance of people's hair to do so. So this is the bill we heard in committee. We heard 45 minutes of testimony about hair discrimination. And one representative, Representative Hollins, even took it broader and she just said black hair. Black hair in general is apparently a bad thing to have. So this is what it says. Race, and they're trying to create this definition. race is inclusive of traits associated with race. So there's some circular logic in there. That's like saying water, and the definition of water is inclusive of traits associated with water. So the beginning makes no sense, but then it goes on to say race is inclusive of traits associated with race, including but not limited to hair texture, hairstyles, such as braids, locks, and twists. And that's it. That's how they want to define race. And when I spoke out and said, I don't think we're doing a smart thing here when we put into law, into statute, a definition of race like this. That is a very shallow definition, and I believe race is much deeper than just the look of somebody's hair. So if you want to check out that bill, that is House File 1315. I can't believe that that sort of language is even being taken seriously, but we spent 45 minutes on it. And in fact, only 2 Republicans on the committee voted against that language, which shocked me. Of course, what we should be talking about are things like the Never Again bill. The only bill here that actually stops a governor from anointing himself or herself to be the king or queen of our state ever again. What we should be talking about is stopping vaccine mandates that are sweeping across our state and our country. What we should be talking about is this $8 billion surplus and making sure you get your money back because you were overtaxed. What we should be talking about is public safety and taking the crime off the streets and actually investing in our police community. But none of these things are of any interest to the Democrats here at the Capitol. So you can count on me to continue to battle on those fronts. Those are the most important fronts and the most important battles that we could be having down here at the Capitol. The Democrats, though, are just closing their eyes and wishing those things go away. That's foolish. I'm not going to allow that to happen, so I'll continue to be forcing votes on these issues and make sure you feel you have a voice down here at the Capitol. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you want to be politically respected, you must be politically feared.